background. I have no idea what could be good for a shoe. Let's do a purple. Okay, I'm going to darken this part of the purple, and that's my starting point. What type of shoe I could sketch? I'm gonna do a running shoe. So the very common running shoes of the last generation, you always, oh, I forgot to move to a new layer. Use different colors. So okay, this could be a, an attempt of sketching a running shoe. Couple of maybe details here. So usually in shoe design, the side view is the most important part. So my recommendation is always do many attempts on here we go. Do some ideation. Every project should have some ideas, not just the final. So there should be a bunch of little sketches here, some forms. And then it's good to have your nice side view. And then maybe in another page I would do the side view. Oh shit. The side view again. Okay. In another page I would do the side view again, and under it figure it out this form here. The shoe is interesting. Try to study the form of the foot, but if this is the left shoe, there is you have to imagine the form of the foot. Foot here is kind of straight, but here it throws a lot and it becomes kind of like this. That's why shoes most of the time here, they have a very unique form. It's not a rectangle at all. Actually, it's a pretty complicated shape. So the goal would be, if it is a sports shoe, to sketch, if it's a basketball shoe, they use this to create a sort of rotation, and then I could sketch, I don't know, whatever organic design that I like to create a nice pattern, and then of course I would have to communicate the form of this. So I don't know, maybe the concept of this would be that the part underneath is, I don't know, it could be all white. And then you have some, you know, part of it that receives a different color. Like I go back to the purple here. And now it's time to communicate that form though. How do you do that? Well, we always have to consider where the light comes from. So if that's a negative form, I think of the light coming from the top. So I have to start, for example, doing stuff like this. Of course, I would be using a path to do it properly. Maybe some airbrush to describe that there is these rolls down. For example, if this let's imagine that this receives a lot of, no, if this is like, I'm embedding a pattern basically. So light purple. Now I'm gonna take this, Control C, Control V. And I'm going to do something like this now. Can just play around and making many copies of this. I'm always doing, so I have selected this, arrow, alt click on top, and I'm doing it many times. So, and of course I can eventually do it huge. And I just take the form that I like here, and I can just, well, let's keep doing it. Just to simplify. And now I could do that this part is not precise, but I'm just trying to, but this part becomes desaturated. So how do you do? It's in the same layer, image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Bring down the saturation, so grayscale. And now I can just take part of it even here. There are many ways to do this, but now just to simplify, I clean it up like that. At least I have a pattern, and now I can maybe decide that this disappears, this disappears, And maybe there will be something different here. Like white. Let's try to use the elliptical path. Elliptical path. I don't know if I've ever done this, but now I subtract another ellipse. Light is coming from the top, so I can do this. I can click and shift that. I put it here. And maybe here we just sketch our little logo or whatever it is. Light is coming from the top, so if I want it embedded in the form, it could be done like this. For the side of a shoe, it's a pretty simple form. It's nothing too difficult in terms of, so I think a good approach is always light coming from the top. So it's very round on the back and very round on the top. So this would be a good approach to give it the form from the very beginning, but also the top rolls a lot here. It's very important to show that it doesn't touch the ground right there. And here, if the light comes from the top, I can introduce some light pink for that, describing that those surfaces are facing up. If this is like the typical, you know, bubble of air or whatever it is, I can do things like this. I can take these little components. Of course, we're done with the lasso, excuse me, with the pen tool, but now I'm running out of time, so try to finish. Dark marker. Maybe pretending that there is a transparent plastic. So I'm sketching the typical white reflection with the airbrush. Maybe too much and too high probably. I think it's better. Now a little pattern here, putting together this line and this line as well. Don't use too many colors, in my opinion, if we want to keep it simple and nice. Light is coming from the top, so a couple of details here. There should be some strings. And each of these is going to cast probably a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to sketch quick selections underneath a little bit, some feather, use some black, stay very light. These could be like the embedded socket, so I think it's acceptable to have it made of a different color. I'm going to subtract this part from the selection, and I can keep adding color here. I'm gonna add some let's try other things that we can attempt is to use maybe it's like this for shoes always work. I think it works. So I'm using a very big brush, huge, on a selection. It's kind of graphic, but for shoes, graphic design is absolutely it always works. And then at the end of the page, I'm just gonna do things like this, and I could attempt to do the same thing that I did before. Again, probably a little, now I go back to my regular, you sign your sketch. And yeah, so it's not done, but it's just to give you a little bit of flavor of what we can do. So this was the first sketch. And it could be the first page. Then in the second page, I present something like that. And maybe even here, I can add a new layer on top of the background and sketch with huge airbrush. Darken it up here and lighten it up here. I think it looks way better now.